listen to that, I turn off the fan behind me, yet the fan inside of my computer is actually making more noise than that. Can you hear it? Oftentimes people will ask me, "Hey, do you like music?" Actually, I can't remember anyone ever asking me that, but let's just go with it. Get my hair out of the shot. But when people ask me this, whether it's real or imagined, I have a tendency to answer, at least to myself, yes. Yes, I do. Why do I say this? Because I do. The problem is that after this, there's a question that may or may not come up. What sort of music do you like? And here we run into a problem that I have noticed, which is that musical genres, specifically for popular music, have a tendency to either be non-descriptive or pretty much not exist. It would seem counterintuitive considering just how many musical genres there are, but let's take a look for a minute at some of the more egregious examples here. First off, let's be completely clear what we mean when we say genre. Now, the dictionary here, which I have on my computer which you can't see, defines a genre as a noun. A noun meaning a class or category of artistic endeavor having a particular form, content, technique, or the like. Or the like. I think the dictionary is getting lazy. But in any case, what we can agree on is that a genre of music should probably have a unified type of content or form, but I think in form it'll be pretty consistent, and that the name should somehow refer to this content, possibly in a descriptive way. So then my question is, why is it that you have so many genres that, especially in their terminology, make no sense whatsoever, and do very little to distinguish a style of music from everything around it? I mean, think about it. First off, one thing that really gets to me is that you have these post-genres. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Post-punk, post-hardcore, it seems there's a post-rock. Now my question is, what does the post label mean? On the one hand, it's not really very consistent, since in some cases it means that these genres are drawing heavily from the genres that preceded them, or in some cases that they're a departure from the genres that preceded them. I would expect at least some consistency with them, but also that they're essentially just named after what came before them, without making it clear, even if I research them, just what sets them apart. You would think that you'd want a genre to be distinctive as opposed to associated with something else. But even beyond that, one of the more obscene problems with all of these different genres is that they're essentially just rock. Yeah, all of them. Even post-rock, strangely enough, I've done some research, is rock. Why we need the post name, I'm not really sure. Maybe there's a Raisin Bran tie-in. Maybe not. It's hard to tell. Alternative is an interesting genre, since it could probably describe nearly half of all of the popular music that's been made since the 90s on. My question is, if you have that much alternative music in the music sphere, what is it an alternative to? Specifically, we get into the term alternative rock. So, it's not an alternative to rock, it's just rock that's an alternative to the rest of rock. So essentially, it's anything that's not same? Yeah. Again, doesn't make sense, especially since the rest of rock isn't exactly one tremendous unified body that's completely consistent. So we have a term that means nothing. Indie also kind of gets to me because that's not even a genre, that's just a method of publication. Like an indie film could be a drama, it could be a comedy, it could be a western, although it probably wouldn't be. Indie just means that it wasn't made, distributed, or released, or produced, or any of that by a major studio. So likewise, indie isn't a genre, it just refers to anything that's not released on a major record label, I would assume. Then again, what's even worse is when I hear music referred to as adult contemporary, which is a radio station format. That would be like saying the kind of music I like is light FM, with the FM in there. Electronic music is music made almost entirely by a synthesizer, computer, or similar instrument. Synth pop refers to popular music in which a synthesizer is the dominant instrument. Synth rock refers to synth pop. Industrial music is electronic music. Techno is electronic music that you can dance to. House is electronic music that you can dance to. Electronic body music is electronic music that you can dance to. Disco is non-electronic music that you can dance to, which may overlap significantly with synth pop. New wave is synth pop that means to distance itself from disco. Are you getting confused yet? Garage rock is music made by college students, whereas progressive rock is music made by really rich college students. I don't know very much about metal, so this I'm just going to guess. It seems to me that heavy metal is rather closely related to hard rock, and although it isn't as firm or solid as hard rock, it has more weight or mass to it. I would assume that symphonic metal, which I've heard of, would be metal that's played by a symphony, that death metal would be metal that kills you, and that nu metal would be metal that's available under a Creative Commons license. Interestingly enough, arguments over what genres certain music belongs to isn't really a modern phenomenon. Strangely enough, I was looking at the comments on a YouTube video, and I actually did come across someone saying, "What are you talking about? Satie did not compose classical music. He and Debussy were impressionists. You fag." YouTube commenters also get into fights over who their favorite opera diva is. Seriously. Then there's also the genre experimental, which you'll see a lot. People will describe something as being rock, but it's not really like rock, so it's rock, experimental. You'll see this on Wikipedia a lot. Now, what exactly does experimental mean? Well, an experiment is when you try something out that's different, that's new, to see how it goes and see what the results are. So I would assume experimental music is music that's different. But then, if you have a body of music that collectively is different, I would think that that would form an alternative. But perhaps it's so different that it's outside of the mainstream, but then again, if that were the case, then I assume it would be indie, so it's something that's maybe within, maybe without the mainstream, but it's different, but different from alternative, so I guess that makes it rock. There's a genre of British pop music, and it's called Britpop. There's a genre of German electronic music, and that's called Krautrock. There's a genre of strange Scandinavian music called Björk, and there's a genre called world music, which refers to music that comes from somewhere in the world. Peter Gabriel recently came out with an album that consisted of nothing but him doing covers of other musicians' songs, but accompanied by no guitar, no drums, no bass, none of that, but instead a 54-piece orchestra. Wikipedia decided to refer to the genre of this album as rock. Likewise, Tom Waits recently came out with a few albums. When I say recently, I mean not too long ago. One of which was very much a blues album, which it referred to as rock experimental, Wikipedia that is, and one of which sounded very close to the music of Kurt Weill. Wikipedia referred to this genre as rock, experimental. What is genre? It's probably French. Beyond that, I'm not too sure. I'm smiling. I'm not smiling. I think that's about it.